Okay, there's strangers. It is 2 p.m. PST, um, and this is my Twitch stream. I'm your host, Transbro Jim, and today we are going to be getting back into Pega. Um, we're going to be going on to email correspondence, and then if we have time, we'll move on to the next topic after that, which is the additional task for sending email during case processing. Um, um, So, for those of you that are going to be watching this on YouTube, um, you know, feel free to, um, skip a little bit ahead if you want to, because I want to kind of repeat myself here a little bit for anybody that's coming into this video for the first time, or if you're watching me straight on Twitch right at this moment. Um, the I just want to let people know that um, you know, I'm not. This is not endorsed by Pega. Just putting that out there. It's not endorsed by Pega at all. So you know, I'm not getting any like special benefits from them or anything along those lines. So don't think of this as like, hey, you're doing a paid sponsorship or no. This isn't that. Okay. This is for my own benefit because I don't have my Pega certification for a system architect. The original training that I had wasn't the greatest, and so I'm using these videos and the stream as a process to kind of get back into studying for it and working towards getting the certification. Now, um, you know, I'm not a instructor. Okay, they have authorized trained partners here. Okay, I'm not one of those. Okay, just bear that in mind. Okay, I'm not someone that is you know, a training professional. Okay, they have instructor-led training. I'm not one of those instructors. Okay, so if you want to pay for their instructor-led training, do so. Okay, because um, you know, if you have any questions, you can, hopefully you can ask them and they will be able to answer your questions. The instructor that I had couldn't or didn't want to. Either way, it was a frustrating experience. Um, and so um, a lot of us kind of struggled trying to get our certification. Some of us, some of the people on in my particular batch just barely squeaked out that certification. Getting the bare minimum that they needed to get it. I'm hoping that with a thorough, in-depth study, of their missions, of their modules, and so on and so forth, I should be able to get certification. But based off of my past experience with it, I don't think their missions and modules are enough, which I feel is is really a kind of a disservice, you know, to those that are taking the time to go through, their missions, their modules, their challenges, and so on and so forth. Um, you know, I, you know, I don't know. I had to study. I studied quite a bit last time, and even then, they were presenting. They were giving questions that had keywords that were from Pega 7.0, and I was studying for 6 point or 8.6. So I was like, okay, well, what can I do, right? Um, Nowhere in their instructions do they say, hey, this, you know, previous keywords were described as this in, this particular version. So if you find a coworker that is using said word, and then you'll know exactly what they're talking about. They don't really do that at all, and that's an unfortunate side of the the Pega Academy. They're not uh, they're not showing the fact that keywords have changed and how they changed. They really should. Uh, I've tried contacting them about the issues, but I think at this point in time I've kind of dropped off on sending them suggestions and the like. You know, um, Personally, I would love for them to just kind of look at my videos and maybe see, where I'm struggling and hopefully get an idea as to, what they're dealing with, or maybe adjust for the next person to come along. I don't know. But so yeah, that's where I'm at. Um, so yeah, studying for the system architect certification. You can also work towards the business architect certification. It's very similar to the system architect. There's only like two, after the first two missions, there's only like two modules left after that system architect does not cover. And system architect goes into other modules and challenges after that. So system architect is going to be covering a lot more than what the business architect is going to do. But if anybody's like watching these videos for the business architect, then you know, I'll once the first two missions are done, then we'll go into um, the those two modules that are covered by the business architect, and then we'll come back and do work on the system architect. Um, Maybe later on, while I'm studying for the system architect, I'll also be studying for the business architect, and I'll try for both certifications. Um, Man, we'll see what we can do from there. Um, I'm doing this because while I might have, experience with Pega under my belt, in business and stuff like that, if you look on any kind of job application, they're wanting that certification. And it was my fault for not getting it earlier. Uh, so, um, now I'm kind of paying the price for it, but I would love for people to kind of help me with it. You know, um, I'm making an effort here. Would love some support if I can, if I can get it. That would be wonderful. Whether it's from Pega, um, you know, certification, people that already have their um, certifications, um, senior systems, lead systems, trainers, you know, um, there's been some topics that I've covered so far that some of it's been quite confusing for me. And I would love for someone to, go into those videos and be able to maybe explain it a little bit better so that maybe I can understand it a little bit better. But yeah. Okay, that's it for the intro. Sorry about taking so long on that, but let's get into the email correspondence. Okay, so email correspondence, communicating with users. Organizations depend on timely communication to establish a shared understanding of transaction or assignments. In Pega platform, the system can send automated email correspondence to all relevant parties. For example, consider a requirement for an automobile claims application. The application sends an email to customers when the claims are successfully filed and any time the status of the claim changes. To achieve effective communication, answer 3 simple questions. With whom do I need to communicate? How will the communication be composed? When does the communication need to be sent? Identify users with whom to communicate. When configuring correspondence, first determine with whom do I need to communicate. One option is to send correspondence to a specific email address. This option depends on the consistent email on a consistent email address. Anytime the email address changes, you must update the application or the correspondence will not be received by the appropriate person. To avoid recurring changes to an email address, you can use fields, participants, or user references to send email correspondence. That's typically the best choice out of it, the whole user references. Okay. Um, if a customer enters in their email address, you use the field or the data that, the data variable to basically refer to what was entered in there. Now, obviously, that's not always going to be correct. Um, and obviously, if the if your email correspondence comes back with like a rejection or something along those lines, then obviously you need to try to address that. But fields. You can send an email based on the value of a field. For example, a customer signs up for an account. The customer enters an email address in the customer email field. When the customer submits information, Pega platform uses the value entered in the field by a customer to send a confirmation email. And it's typically a good idea, if they are entering in an email to send um, to send like a confirmation email, like right then and there, or or block them from continuing because if you need that email for further correspondence, you're going to want to have that email verified. So, um, which obviously you can, you should be able to handle. Well, I mean, if you have an email that has um, like an approve or reject, then there you go. you know, Participants. Pega platform can also use participant information to send correspondence to a group of stakeholders. Case participants are people, businesses, and organizations that are involved in a case. By managing case participants, you can define their relationship with the case and share important case updates with them. Pega platform identifies the recipient's email address from the participant information. The email is sent to any user associated with the selected participant. For example, your company grants car loans to the employees of an organization. To send loan updates to key members of the organization, you can add these members as participants in car loan cases. In Pega platform, you can use the following default participants for correspondence: owner, the person who created the case; customer, the person on whose behalf the case is transacted. This person may not process the case, but may want or need notification of any changes. Or interested participant, a person who tracks the progress of a case but does not process the case. In addition to selecting one of the participants, you can also choose to send email correspondence to all participants. Alright. In cases where the correspondence needs to be sent to one specific person in your application, you can use a user reference. Relevant user reference fields are defined in the case type and associated data types. You can define a user reference field in a case type data model. For example, the head of an IT department receives status changes for high priority issues. A user reference field called IT manager is defined in the data model and used to send email correspondence to the appropriate user. Two user fields, create operator and update operator, are automatically defined in the data model for each data type associated with the case type. For example, an application with request, results, and terms of use data types, each data type is listed with its respective create operator and update operator. Uh, there's a create operator, update operator for each of these. So, okay. Select the owner participant sends correspondence to the product owner. No. Owner participant is the owner of the case type, not the product owner, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, who created the case. So, um, the product owner, um, there's really no participant defined here that would be considered the product owner. So, identify how to compose the correspondence. After determining who receives the communication, ask yourself, how will the communication be composed? Pega platform provides a rich text editor to create formatted email correspondence. The editor allows you to reuse data from the case in the email. For example, you can enter a greeting with the customer's first and last name by referring to the fields that capture this information in the case. You can also use existing correspondence templates. Pega platform provides out-of-the-box templates that use data processing data such as case ID, PYID, and case status, PY status work. So there's the status update with the update operator updated the label and ID. Its new status is status work. Click here for more details. Identify when to communicate with users. Last question you need to answer is, when does communication need to be sent? Send email automation. Pega platform simplifies sending correspondence by allowing you to add a send email automation to your case to send an email. When a case reaches the send email step, the email automatically is sent to the selected parties. For example, in place order process, users select order items, the shipping address, and the payment method. Once users confirm the order, the case automatically sends users a confirmation email. So, select item, select shipping, select payment, confirm the order, and then the email gets sent. Case level notifications. Another option is to configure email notifications at the case level. This allows you to automatically send a notification when an assignment in the case is routed to a user work list. Case level notifications are automatically configured to send to the user associated with the work list. Because the email notification is configured at the case level, excuse me, compose a relevant email for all users who receive the notification during case processing. If the message is left blank, the default message is used. PY label plus the ID, move to your work list. For example, an employee onboarding case type, the following default message is sent to an HR member. Onboarding O-2183 is moved to your work list. Notifications are only sent once the case enters the routed assignments. And no ending quiz here. Oh well. You would think that they would, given the fact that, they've already covered, you know, how and when, or who to send it to and, when to send it to. You would think there would be a question down here at the bottom, but it doesn't cover that. Oh well. Okay, we got through that pretty fast. It's fairly straightforward. Obviously, you're gonna want to know, you know, uh, the different default participants and how, you know, that's most likely going to be covered in the in certification somewhere, maybe. Um, you're probably going to want to remember that, the rich text editor is used. You're going to want to remember the case ID is PY ID. The case status is PY status work. Okay. Whenever they do any of these, PY variables, you're going to want to remember, what they're referring to. Okay. The case status, which, you can change the case status, as you progress through your case lifecycle, remember? So, that your status work will be changed along the way. Okay. Or, reset, how it said, hey, reset it back to open, for example, right? The case ID, that one doesn't really change. Once the case has been created, it gets set an ID, and that doesn't change, or it's not supposed to anyway. So, so just remember those because those are probably going to be, those might be referred to in the certification as well. Or it might do it in a roundabout way. Like they might say, given the status update, you know, what information are you placing inside here? And they might like give you a whole bunch of like, um, you know, values, like, um, they might give you like names and the IDs and so on and so forth. And they basically say, you know, how will this, how will this sentence look like, you know, based off of what's given here, right? What goes here, that kind of thing. So just bear that in mind. Like they give this, and you have to create that. You know what I'm saying? So that might be something that you might have to experience that you may see on the certification. So okay, we're gonna move on to the next topic though. We still got 30 more minutes. Excuse me. Okay, so this is kind of more has to do with, if you have a if you're doing like a challenge, um, you can try to do this. So in the next challenge that I'm gonna work on, I'll come back to this one and work on it. Okay, but The following related tasks are not covered in the challenge that accompanies this module. Please review this content, which identifies different use cases and describes procedures for completing these additional tasks. These tasks are in scope for certification. Your exam may include questions on these tasks. Sending email notifications from cases. To speed up resolution of your business processes, ensure that users receive information when a new task await in their work list by sending email notifications. For example, you can compose a message that includes a link to a case so that a user can immediately access that case and start work. In the navigation pane in App Studio, click Case Types. Click the case type that you want to open. Casework areas, click the Settings tab. In the Settings panel, click Notifications. In the Email Notifications section, select the Email User when an assignment is routed to a work list checkbox. Define the content of your message. Compose a new email. In the Email section, select the customer. Use an existing email. In the Email section, select Use Existing. In the Message list, select the message that you want to use. In the subject field, enter the email title by entering a string expression. You can reference field types in the title to make the heading more dynamic and meaningful. For example, the case, such and such, has been assigned to you. One second, I gotta blow my nose here real quick. All right, sorry about that. Um, yeah, so you know, go through all that, click on save, and then, you know, user receives an email when the application routes attached to their work list. So, and then of course there's some additional topics here as well. So, okay. Well, okay. So I was kind of thinking that there would be, more here, but it's looking like that's more a process for the challenge coming up. Um, I was I was looking at this and thinking that I would probably be, I would have to take a lot of time for these two, but I got through them pretty quickly. So I think I'm just gonna go ahead and move on to the module quiz, and we'll just go ahead and work on this. I'm assuming that the questions are probably going to be about 3 questions or so. Yeah. They normally do like, you know, if a module quiz has like 5 minutes, then typically it's not not that many questions. So, all right. In a job application case, a hiring manager and a recruiter must receive automatic email notifications when assignments is routed to the work list. How do you configure this correspondence requirement? Um, that might be possible. Um, okay, so um, here's the thing about what was already kind of covered, right? Um, they didn't really show like you know anything about um, like when an assignment has been sent to a work list in those particular topics. So the after an assignment and before the assignment doesn't really work in this particular case because you're not quite sure exactly when like an assignment gets necessarily sent um, to a person's work list. You know, is it done after a stage? Is it done before the stage? You know, um, and when should you send that email? You know, if it happens before the stage, do you need to send the email, you know, right before the stage is entered, or do you need to send the email afterwards? You don't really, they didn't really cover that very well. Um, so I doubt either one of these two would be the answer. And while you can do like a send email step and compose it, once again, when are the assignments? When are the assignments done? That's not really covered very much there. They did talk about, enable assignment notifications for the case type. So that's why I'm kind of sticking with this one. So, and that's the correct answer. Because you know, sending these assignments to a work list, um, you would have to like really work on um, you know, whose work list does the assignment get, sent to, you know, after a particular stage or something along those lines. So, um, and normally that process of when the case gets sent to, that particular persona, work list, work group, work queue, um, that's typically handled, you know, with automation, right? It's typically automated to do that. So typically you want to, establish those notifications, you know, that corresponds with that automation. So that's why that works. Which two statements identify why you automate correspondence? Choose two. Automating correspondence allows you to advance the case. No, incorrect. You can advance this case without automating correspondence. You don't need to worry about that. Automating correspondence keeps all interested parties informed of the current case status. That's true. Automating correspondence allows you to send timely communication. Sure. Automating correspondence allows for sending consistent information to users. Hmm. On one hand, I'm looking at that lens sensor and going, I mean, you wanna send information to users, but the one thing that I think says that this one doesn't necessarily work is the word here that they say consistent information, you know, um, you want to show um, you want to show the current case status, because current and this case status can change, but consistent information, maybe not necessarily consistent because case status isn't consistent. It changes. So I'm kind of leaning. Let's keep with these two here, and apparently that's wrong. Okay. While you can send status updates for a case, you typically do not send correspondence for every status change. But yet at the same time, you could still do that though as well because you kind of want to know, you might want to know the where a case is currently at, no matter what. So if you're on the job and um, if you only if you only get like notification that very at the very beginning and at the very end, what happens some if the work isn't being done in the middle, right? You're not going to know who's where the case has stalled out at without knowing where it is, you know, by the status change. So I don't necessarily agree with that one. Um, Now I will admit there might be um, there might be jobs, applications, and so on and so forth that you might not need to do that. Okay. Um, like there might be only like two different you know st change statuses for an application, for example. Open and closed. Okay, congratulations, you just sent correspondence for the closed or something like that. Or you might have a status that is like open for review and process. And you're going to be getting emails for every single last one of them. That I can understand. Like, hey, no, let's maybe not. Okay. Especially if it sends it to like the entire everybody that works on it, right? If it sends it to every single person that you know is that has a hand in that case type, and it sends an email every single time to every single person, every single time that the case status gets changed. Okay, but to say that it never happens is you know not not true. So, okay, well, I guess they're kind of leaning towards four. Okay, well, whatever. You can configure a case to automatically send an email to loan applicants informing them that their loan has been approved. The requirement states that the email must include values for the applicant's name, the loan office, and the loan amount. How do you configure your email? Okay, so um, Okay, so um, okay, so first, include a link to the organization's webpage so that the user can log in and view their loan information. I mean, that's sure. I mean, you could do that, especially if you want to, if you prefer to keep, that kind of information, you know, like in a secured location kind of thing. Like you don't necessarily want to be sending that information out via email, which I mean, in some cases might be a good thing to do. You don't necessarily want to be sending very, um, the one of the things about emails is that uh, you know, there's always a chance that an email could be intercepted and someone could read that email, right? Um, so that's one of the reasons why you don't necessarily want to be sending like very sensitive information via email because there's, you know, uh, the what's contained in those emails could be very sensitive. Okay. Um, you know, like you wouldn't necessarily want to be sending around your social security number, for example, via email. Just don't do it. you know, um, you're allowing the hackers to take that email and take that social security number and then, um, um, you know, and run away with it and make all the accounts that they want with it. Okay, just don't do that. Um, one of the reasons why I'm kind of irritated by um, one of the um, one I'm kind of irritated by the unemployment because they're like, hey, we're auditing your application for this. We want you to send all this information. We also need a copy of your social security card. It's like you don't send that via email. What the hell? uh, oh, I'm actually thinking about just giving the person a call and going, okay, I'm not gonna send. I'm really not comfortable about sending this via email. Is there a place where I can just, upload it into, a secure location? Um, because email's just not the way of doing that. Um, but um, so yeah. Um, so I mean, this isn't bad. You can definitely do that. You know, um, I can definitely see this as a possibility. You know, plus, if I was the organization kind of thing that wants, you know, uh, that's doing this loan, then I'm probably going to be wanting to maybe give them, other additional like deals or something like that. I want to advertise other things, right? So, this right here is probably the way to go in all reality, okay? Because not only one do you keep their information private and they have to go through, security to, view that information and everything's kind of behind, security wall, right? But it allows for you to advertise even more, to um, for all those kind of things, right? So, you know, I would say ideally that first one would be the right answer. But I know what they're trying to go for, and you know, um, the requirement states that the email must include values for the applicant's name, the loan office, and the loan amount. Okay, so they are, strictly already saying that the requirement has to have that in the body of the email. So already, that while this is probably the ideal solution that they should probably have, that's not what the requirement wants. And also, bear in mind, okay, if you're on a job, if you're working for a company and stuff like that, and they say, you know, the requirement is this, and you do this, you're probably going to get fired. Don't do that. Don't go counter to their requirements. Do exactly what they want you to do. Okay, or you know, uh, you I mean, you can always counter that and say, hey guys, I know that you guys really want this as the requirement, but this might be the better choice out of this. You know, one, you can have them log in safely in our website, and two, you can advertise more products to them on our website. You know, both of which are, you know, really good, strong, positives. So, but so add the applicant's name, loan office, and loan amount properties. Um, Actually, hold on. Okay, so it's not copy values because copy values in the email is basically saying, hey, I'm going to copy this person's name and move it into the email. Copying the loan office, copying the loan amount. You don't want that, okay? Because if the loan office changes, if the loan amount changes or something like that, you're doing another copy and paste. It's inefficient. So this one does not work. Okay. This one does not work for based off the requirements. So it's either second or third. Now here's what's throwing me off about these two. Placeholder text could could mean hey, we're using the variable name for these three you know in the body of the email, and therefore when the values um, get made, then the placeholder text kind of disappears and the information gets placed in there, right? You know, whole idea of what placeholder is all about, right? But here's the thing: add the applicant's name, loan office, and loan amount properties. Um, Properties is what kind of keys me off in on this one because um, you know, um, you know, properties typically represents the variable names. You know, so you're not actually adding in the the John Doe. You're doing first name last name properties in there. So that's why I'm looking at this and going, ooh, that one could also be potentially true. So, damn it. I'm leaning more towards this one though. So, feedback? Nope. Okay. Um, it's the properties. Okay. Yeah. So, just to kind of go back over through their, to show the feedback, what they're talking about. Um, we already did the uh, notifications, so you know, but for this one, it's um, let's see. Um, we don't want this one. And you want the consistent information, and you want the send timely communication. Those are the two that they were talking about. So, defining the correspondence content within the case assures that the case participants receive the same information, and by automating the correspondence send time, you can send information to users when needed. So that's what those two are all about. So there's that. And then, of course, this one, we've already established placeholder text is not what they're talking about. They're talking about the properties. So system adds property values when the email is sent. Um, so what was kind of throwing me off um, about this one was the fact that they had properties at the end of the statement and not at the very beginning. Notice how it says add placeholder text for the applicant's name, loan office, and amount. Okay. So, I was kind of leaning towards that one a little bit more because the sentence structure was basically implying that, we're adding the, placeholder text for all three of these, right? Whereas for this one, even though, they do say, properties here at the very end, you know, I, you could interpret this as we're adding the applicant's name, John Doe, the loan office of Boston, and the loan amount properties. So, there could be like multiple different properties that could be added in there, like you know, home loan, car loan, boat loan, and all those amounts, properties are there. So that's why I was like, mm, that's why I was kind of leaning towards this first one with the placeholder text because they said, add placeholder text right at the very beginning. Now, if they said something like add the properties of applicant's name, loan office, and loan amount, then I'd probably would have leaned a little bit more towards that, but they didn't. So that's why, I got that question wrong. So again, sentence structure and word usage tripped me up. So the fact that I got 2 out of the 3 wrong on this particular module quiz is not great. Once again, I get hit, you know, by, you know, um, by what's being, how the sentence structure and all that is given. So it'll just mean that, once again, the certification is going to be, kind of difficult. So, um, what's kind of unfortunate is the fact that, they're saying 25% found this content useful. Ew. You know, I mean, you have to look at the module quiz and think, how much of the email correspondence information was included in there, you know. So, but all right, well, that's gonna be it for today's Pega study session. We're gonna go ahead and move on into our just chatting. For those of you watching on YouTube, would love it if you can do a, like, subscribe, share, bell notifications, all that jazz, for these Pega videos. You're also welcome to go check out the other playlists that I have. You know, got one for, coding using Unity. Um, also got plenty of playlists for the gaming sessions that I do, which later on tonight we're going to be going into Subnautica Below Zero. Um, so if you have any interest in that, stop on by. Um, or you can come on over to Twitch and follow me there. um, Also, I want to thank King Bushman for the follow. Apparently, they followed me last night, 11 hours ago, according to this. So I want to thank you for that. Okay, but that is going to be it for that. Um, so yeah, we're going to go ahead and stop the recording right now.